Welcome to our Vitality Chat. And today we have someone very special with us, someone I've known for, I don't even know if I want to tell you how many years, but probably 40 years, Dr. Claudia Anrig. I'm sure most of you know about her. She has been teaching chiropractic ever since I've known her. She is an amazing chiropractor, a master of her art in Gonstead, a second generation chiropractor, and we are really excited that she's joining us here today.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for joining us, Dr. Claudia. We're really honored that you would take some time to speak with us. And this is really for our members, and we're hoping that you can tell us a little bit about your chiropractic background. We know you're second generation chiropractor, maybe a little bit about your dad and practicing and all that. Love to have you introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been at it for over 40 years in an active private practice and so forth. But my dad was an engineer before he became a chiropractor, and it was my mom in her third pregnancy. She couldn't walk, and then being immigrants coming to America, my parents are Swiss. They were just they were devastated, and how could my mom get better? And they basically said she would have to live with crawling, raising 3 kids for the rest of her life. And so a little gentleman in a grocery store said, "You need to see a chiropractor." Now, my mom and dad couldn't even pronounce the word chiropractic or chiropractor. They didn't even know what it was, but it sounded like hopeful or a miracle. And so my mom and dad went to the chiropractor, and he started to adjust my mom, and my mom was able to literally walk again. And immediately after that, my dad and mom realized, well, if chiropractic is good for the body, they immediately started all 3 of us kids under chiropractic care. So that would have been considered voodoo. So my parents were voodoo attendees as patients. So they were really into family wellness, because in Europe, they're much more progressive about being healthier, eating healthier, and all the rest. And so when I was 6, ready to turn 7, my dad was already, had not decided yet to become a chiropractor, but I had told my parents. They said, "Well, what do you want for your birthday?" And I said, "Mom and Dad, I want full spine x-rays so I can bring them to the elementary school and I could put them up on the window."
well, you're weirder than we are.
Yeah.
I gave a skeleton for our anniversary present, but okay.
Yeah, full spine x-rays. And my chiropractor loved it so much. He gave me full spine x-rays. I brought him, and I lectured for a week why children need to have chiropractic care. So I was always behind the kid thing. So my dad goes to chiropractic college. And so I went to chiropractic college classes with him in the evening hours. And then as my dad and my mom, who ran our office until it was 88, I got to hang around a lot of the chiropractic giants, which I talk about later. But I was so excited about our profession that everybody needs to have the kind of experience that we did. I blew up a really big family practice with another friend of mine's, Judy Forrester from Calgary. And so we started back in the 1980s. That seems even before many of your members were born. We actually started the first seminar call that brought in, if anybody's using that word, I'm a family wellness chiropractor. Judy and I branded that line 40 years ago, and we taught it to thousands of chiropractors that not just see a kid because they're sick. What about you take care of the entire family for their lifetime and make a difference there with their nervous system, their ability to have just the ability to express themselves. And so we started off teaching that, creating family wellness. And then Larry Webster tapped me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, Claudia, could you help me?" And I said, "Sure." He says, "I got a program. There's only like 100 people in it, and I'd like to start a certification program." So Larry Webster and I started the ICPA certification program. We brought all the instructors, which Marty, later on, you are one of our beautiful instructors in the program. And so we grew from 100 people to several thousand. And I was, after Larry's passing, I was the first president after Larry Webster. And so Larry and I and the Webster technique go back again decades ago. And then I realized still some things were missing. And so then I didn't have a hobby. So the textbook, Pediatric Chiropractic, yeah, the big book, 9-pounder. That came out, and this is that now the blue version that everybody's saying. That's the 3rd edition that just came out under 12 months ago. And so that book was to help bring subluxation in, to how to find a subluxation through examination, different techniques. And we have like over 9 techniques in there, because I love techniques. But it was really to be a cornerstone, because it's not just that 9-pound book here, but it's who published it. And so in the world, it's the fastest selling textbook in the history of chiropractic. But that book there, if somebody walked in an OB's office or a pediatrician's office, they'd look who published it. And that's going to give credibility to any of our doctors of chiropractic because it says we are seriously academic, we have clinical knowledge. And so then that was there. And then in the last 20 years, kind of my latest thing that has in the profession, people may know me still, is teaching seminars like First Adjustment, but also then doing where I brought it on my heart to mentor young doctors in my program called Generation. So I just have not slow down. It changes, it evolves. But I love our profession. I am so excited about our future doctors, our young doctors out there, the things that you could do in these next few decades and enjoy life, enjoy raising maybe your family, or if you don't have a family, but just enjoy your life, but enjoy the gift that chiropractic can bring to you.
Awesome.
You certainly are a visionary, Claudia, and we're so grateful for all that you have done. I mean,
And we have a lot in common. We talk almost as fast as each other, which I thought was good. But also what I thought was interesting, I didn't realize your father was an engineer, so was Dejanette. He was an engineer before he was a chiropractor. So I think it's really interesting that he went from that engineering. Did he do Gonstead? Was he the one who did?
Yeah, he would. It was illegal back then at Cleveland College to go to any other techniques, as some of the old schools were not always open.
Right.
And so my dad went underground and went to a Gonstead seminar. And because Dr. Gonstead was an engineer, right? So it made logical sense for him to look at an X-ray and biomechanically move a joint. And so, he's a master adjuster, and even now at age 97. He still has 2 patients that come in to see him twice a month, that he's still practicing and so forth. Not as fast as it used to be, but I love techniques and had a chance to meet Dr. Gonstead and many other legends in our profession. So I love when our fellow doctors can literally find a subluxation, and in whatever your technique is to find a correct way of addressing it for the patient's needs.
Yeah, I think it's really important that when these younger students get out of school, and also a lot of the schools now are starting to keep away from technique. They don't want to own a technique. They want to teach you how to manipulate areas of the spine
mobilize it.
and mobilize, and that's horrific. What we do, that's not about subluxation. And I think it's really important to learn from people who have a specific technique, have an indicator system, and are focused on the subluxation, not just mobilizing areas of the spine.
Right.
We need to be out there. People like you and me and a lot of other people who are doing technique really need to be out there now, because you're right, the old guard has passed away. The Gonsteads, the Dejanette, Thompsons, all those Pierce, all those guys have gone. And so it's kind of up to us to maintain that integrity of the technique and the integrity of the adjustment and what that really
and
means.
the also important, the part of the analysis is that I think that's the part that I love about Gonstead and SOT. There's analysis, so you know where you're going and why you're going, and then of course how to deliver the adjustment. And we certainly know that your program and your Gonstead program delivers that. So obviously you've just shared a lot with us, and is there any particular technique that you do Gonstead? Is there something that you could share with our students and our members about your particular technique
Especially something that deals with pediatrics.
Exactly.
I know that you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the beauty of in the Gonstead work is that one of the things that we do is we work a lot on palpation.
Right.
And so whether we're taking the 2nd digit or the 5th digit, one of the things that a fellow Gonstead practitioner may do is they may develop a lighter touch, because less is more. And so we lightly touch static palpation, and we gently do our motion palpation, whether it's a newborn baby to the infant who's holding up and is wiggling all over the place, to the toddler. And that's adaptability and so forth. We don't, as a Gonstead practitioner, we're not necessarily x-raying children necessarily under the age of 5.
Right.
We might wait until they're standing weight bearing. And what we try to share with our patients is let's get a baseline how the kid is growing up. So if there's something off, we have years now to try to figure that path out, like an orthodontist taking, imprints and so forth. So it's a beautiful technique for palpation. They use some instrumentation when the child is a little bit older. And probably one of the things that is similar to like upper cervical techniques, SOT and all the rest, is knowing when the stop adjusting. The part of the art is not only finding it, but the art is stop and let the body adapt, and let's see the expression of the nervous system. And so I think that the beauty of the finding and then knowing when to step away and then and space out visits. Because I don't think unless somebody's really, and this is a trend that's happening in our profession, I think unless something's seriously going on, seeing a child 3 to 5 times a week, I think that's overstimulating the nervous system, and you're not respecting the system that it can self-heal and self-regulate.
You're definitely speaking our language. Less is definitely more when it comes
I
to
remember a
pediatrics.
number of years ago, I had a patient who came to see me for a long time, years and years and years. He was a martial artist, and he moved up further towards the North Shore, and I sent him to a student who had taken some SOT, but he's basically a Gonstead practitioner. And the guy went to see him, and he did his evaluation, and he adjusted him. The guy called me up and goes, it's different than what you do, and he only adjusted like 2 things, and sometimes you do my cranium, he doesn't do extra. I said, look, trust me, he's a good chiropractor. Just stay with it. He goes, if you're not happy, you can come back here. And after about a month or so of care, he checked in with me. He goes, you're right. I feel great. He's doing a great job. I said, that's it. I said, he's really good at what he does. And there may be a little bit different technique, but it's about following the indicators, giving the body a chance to heal, and not being the doctor, but actually just being the facilitator. And that's really hard for a lot of chiropractors is, because we don't know what's going to happen when we open up someone's nervous system. And what's important is to let that unfold as opposed to constantly putting input in after input after input, not getting, like you said, not letting the body adapt. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely speaking our language.
Yeah.
So obviously your level of motivation has not decreased at all. What is it? What drives you?
Yeah. What do you think it is that
What's the
drives
thing
you?
that keeps you? I mean, you morph yourself through time, but yet the language is the same. What is that
Yeah.
motivation?
What's that
for you?
underlying thing
Yeah.
that keeps
Yeah.
you changing?
For me, I think it is the fact that I can make a difference in somebody else's life or lives. I mean, I've got the lives of my families, my practice, and my pregnant women, and all the rest. So I've got that lives, but it's really the lives of my fellow chiropractors. I don't know. Somehow my heart got pulled to the profession to be a servant of the profession, and so doors had opened up, and I stepped through, and I said yes, and a lot of it wasn't that. And some people are motivated for financial reasons. A lot of my decisions over the decades for the profession was never ever there was never anything financially rewarding, but the reward was making a change. If I can alter the hundreds if not thousands of chiropractors, whether it's adjusting to retaining more families in their practice, but if we reach thousands more doctors, then what we do is we reach hundreds of thousands of families. And so is my motivation. My hope is that by the time I get to pass that torch on, and my dream is that everybody would realize they have to have a pediatric or prenatal chiropractor, or if not, it would be negligence, like not giving children dentistry when you know better. So my hope is we become mainstream and so boring because everybody's going to see a family wellness chiropractor. So that's what's motivating me.
I think that's awesome. I think, it's the ripple effect is what you're looking at. As you start, you take one, then they take one, and then it's,
that's an extraordinary vision, an extraordinary, when I want to say one thing, and we've talked to a lot of chiropractors who've been in practice over 40 years, and the number one thing they always go back to, it's being the servant. It's the servant heart. It's understanding that the skills that we have, whether we choose to put it into our practice or choose like where you are with a broader scope of not only practicing, but also teaching other chiropractors and helping other chiropractors, that it's still the servant heart. It's understanding that we have this gift and that we can share it. And it makes such a big difference, not only in our own lives, but also the lives of the people that we touch. So it's a really beautiful thing.
And also for all the younger chiropractors out there who are listening, none of us are poor because of that service.
Exactly.
No, we did.
It's just, we're not, right, just because you're not focusing on money when you're serving and doing and reaching like that.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah. It does come full around, and
absolutely. I think they can, a lot of people, I understand when you're young. I mean, we got out of school and Nancy was 7.5 months pregnant. We had school.
We had debt.
We had debt. And I know how it feels, to be stressed around that. But if you maintain your heart and maintain that service attitude and you keep giving in that way, all that stuff will come back.
But I also think another thing that taps on that is not only, but it's also to have the systems for your success. And I think that's kind of what we kind of want to talk to you a little bit about. I know that you've created systems for chiropractors, and if you want to share a little bit about that,
Yeah,
Claudia,
please tell
I'd
us
love
what you
to
do
hear.
for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. So about 20 years ago, I had a lot of individuals calling and emailing me and just saying, gosh, could I come and visit and shadow you for a week or, a month or whatever it is? Because I'd like to be able to duplicate the success you've had in your practice with basically, you rarely need any new patients because the retention is so high. And I
Absolutely.
realized, well, the number one reason why this is working had nothing to do with technique or techniques, because I love all techniques. It had to do with education. And it was educating the young parent. So mom and dad had a better understanding why bring your kids in to see the chiropractor, not because they have torticollis or asthma, but for wellness. And it was part of the wellness team. And so when I realized you coming to visit wasn't the right thing, I thought, well, but I could turn around and duplicate this for doctors all over, North America. And so I started my program, Generations, where basically I work with docs 2.5 hours a month. And I teach a module like from A to Z, step by step. I just slice it down in every aspect, not preconception, prenatal, postnatal, the life of a newborn in their first 12 weeks. What do you say to the parents? And all the way to adolescence. And then what was important part of the education was having the tools, like whether it was a workshop, a digital media running in the office, newsletters. I've written, several hundred newsletters that so they can give packets to parents. So it gives them more of an authority. So I have an art of communication, art of graphics. I'm just drawn by all of this because if one of the missing pieces, it's just a unique flyer that just connects with that parent and with their toddler because it was written that way. So I started creating, so I started training doctors. I've worked with several hundred over the last 20 years because it's boutique. So it's because I'm the one and only teaching. And then I work with my doctors on a private level. And by the way, they can reach me literally 7 days a week if something goes on, a crisis in a practice, a technique, or it's something going on in their marriages or their own kids. I just like a big sister because if you're hurting, then we need to work on that because otherwise it stops you from being your better communicator and better chiropractor Monday morning with your patients. And so I've loved that. It's just what the thing in the last 20 years has given me such great joy in my life is educating and why I have to stay in practice. I have to stay contemporary because the
Yeah,
patient
that's
10
it.
years ago, that language is different. We go through COVID, that language is different.
Absolutely.
And so now it's about every 3 years, my materials even evolving even faster with my write. I write the concepts and the graphics because we got to really communicate to them. Otherwise, the young parents are not going to say yes. Because
Absolutely.
one of the hurdles we have to get over sometimes are the dads who don't think they have to go to the chiropractor. So I consider family practice now as a mom and her 2 or 3 or 4 kids. And if we can connect with that and enough that she really draws a line that, what, I'm seeing the family wellness chiropractor, whether it's twice a month, once a month,
Right.
whatever's right for that family. But so generations and mentoring doctors, whether it's students about ready to get out at school, I work with people that have been 2, 3 years in practice, 10, 20, 30 years. I have people who've been 30 years of practice, but they want to make their practice young again, have fun. So they're actually hiring me to make it more fun for them. And it helps some of the older chiropractors help them sell the practice to a younger doctor because they don't have a geriatric kind of practice going on there. Yeah.
Well, I think what's amazing about that one, it's great, and I've seen some of your stuff because you've sent it to me and shared it, and I think it's amazing. And what's great, it's an integrated system because that's the big
Right.
thing that happens these days. Everybody's on social media getting dozens and dozens of new patients, but they're blowing them out the door. So their PVAs are low.
Mhm.
You want to have a PVA way up there. Our PVA tends to be really high. We kind of do the same thing. We look at lifetime care. I also know, and it's interesting you said that every 3 years that there's been a really big shift where a lot of people are finding chiropractors on the internet and they're bringing their kids in, for colic or torticollis, and it's really hard to maintain them for long-term lifetime care because the parents don't get under care. They're bringing their kid in and so I imagine after just looking at some of your literature that your system will really help make that shift and allow people to, experience the idea of long-term care. And the other piece is I wish you'd done marriage counseling because we would have saved us a lot of money many years ago. You did that.
Yeah, I know. Gee,
I would have rather paid you at that point. I mean, it worked out. I mean, it did work out.
I mean, I had to give him an attitude adjustment though. See, so.
No, but seriously,
I
I think that's really great, and I think it's really important, especially for young practitioners, to get off the ground in the right way, like not getting
right.
50 new patients. Because the other piece, and I'll let you. I just want to say one thing. The other piece that kind of irks me is that so if people get 50, 60 new patients a month and then blow them all out the door, what happens is that reflects to the chiropractic profession as a whole, because then people just give up on chiropractic. They don't, and that's what's really important. You don't look, and then I know that you do and I do and Nancy does. We look in the big picture, like how we're affecting the whole as opposed to just this little tiny micro.
Yeah, and that's for us. I mean, we're really big on the educational aspect as well. And we say just be very consistent across the board, whether it be what's in your office, what you hand out, what you put out. And I mean, your first contact is before they come into the office. It's how they got in there.
Yeah.
Now, for us, we've been in practice over 42 years, so we're in the same boat. We can't take we take very few new patients. They're only referrals or very complicated cases.
Right.
And that's why we've created our referral directory so that we can transfer people to get consistent care. But for all the young doctors that still are spending way too much money in advertising, we think that Dr. Claudia is what she's saying. We're totally in alignment with. It's building really strong systems with really clear communications. And then what we're looking for is to create lifetime chiropractic patients, not a pediatric practice, not a geriatric practice, but a full family practice. And I think it's a lot less stress in your life when you're not out there hustling, all the time. You certainly have to hustle at times, but once you have your systems in place, it really does make it really clear what you're doing. And
what I like about what you're offering also in the part of your program is that you're constantly changing, because you have, it's like Nancy, you have to keep the ball rolling. You can't stop. I mean, that's why I practice. I love what you said there, because I've seen people who stop practicing and just teach. And after a while, they get stale. They don't have that input. They don't have the energy. They don't have the changes. So as your program moves forward and as you move forward, we're in the trenches with you. I mean, you're in the trenches. It's not like we're sitting out there looking on the outside, looking in. We're actually in the trenches doing the same work, seeing the same patients, getting the same, input. But we've learned over the years, just like you have, how to manipulate it in a way that's better. And I think it's just, it's great. I love what you do. I mean, it's
we're very honored that you spend this time with us. And is there any one other thing that you'd like to share with our?
And we're going to post it too, but can you tell people how to reach you and, your programs?
I just, want to encourage people that if your wish had always been, and it has to be, as you've taken Dr. Nancy and Dr. Marty's program in SOT, you have a love in pregnancy, you have a love in infants and children and all the rest of that. You are taking these study courses, and if that is your heart there, knowing that you have a way of finding subluxation and adjusting and so forth, the key is don't give up hope to build that family wellness practice. And so if you're working on the art of chiropractic, the only thing that you would marry the art is good education. And so sometimes people think, I can just create it myself. And I just want to say, be hopeful, but be open also to be mentored, because let some people help open up those doors faster, so you're not as frustrated or disappointed and so forth. And so be hopeful, and just know you pick the right profession, you pick the right population group. And what I'd love to do is be able to see in 20, 30, 40 years from now that the pregnant women that you took care of, and they brought their baby in for their first adjustment, that if you stay in a family wellness practice, someday those babies grow up, get married, and have their babies, and they're doing preconception, and they're giving their beloved another first adjustment, and that's decades later. And that's what happens with longevity practices. And I hope everybody can go through multiple first adjustments with every generation out there.
I agree. That's awesome.
It's a wonderful.
It is seeing 3 or 4 generations of people. It's really amazing
it's
to do that.
Such a wonderful vision, and we appreciate you holding that vision along with us.
So we're going to post Claudia's information about how you can get in touch with her and about her Generations program and the First Adjustment. So the Generations and First Adjustment are 2 different programs, yes?
Yeah, one is a seminar I teach 4 times a year throughout the United States, 12-hour CE. And then Generations is the private mentoring program, very boutique.
Perfect. Yeah. Right. So we'll be happy to post all of that for you, Claudia, into our
and people get in touch with. And any contact information you want to give, just send us an email. And we'll make sure it's posted on the internet.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll do that. What I'll do is when we get back in the office next week, I'll have Lauren send that your direction for you.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad you're all rested.
Oh yeah, we are.
Eating healthy.
Have a great night, Claudia. Thank you.
Have a blessed night. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.